like a fridge for about the past 6 months. So we're going to have to see what goes on there into the draft. See if they decide to switch it up. Going right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get this underway here between Reborn and Frost. See if we see anything crazy going on, or if it's going to continue to be the normal pace of things here. And interesting here, Chims. I would never expect this here to be banned out, but it looks like Morigesh taken out of the equation for Reborn.
Well, the reason being is if Reborn have a specific comp they want to play, that Morigesh might be incredibly difficult to deal with. So probably sort of quick burst compositions maybe they want to try run, or less tanky compositions where Morigesh has a lot of time to build up damage with the Hive.
Yeah. And the Muriel ban from Frost, Master Splinter, put on a clinic of how strong that hero is with the new scaling of shields of Muriel. I think was just very instrumental in that last game of teammates getting away on Reborn that otherwise would have been secured kills and farm and opportunity for Team Frost. They're going to take that out of the equation. First pick for Reborn. They want to make sure that J. Leo Grande has that comfort pick on that Grux, again, swooping him up in the first stage.
Yep, strong pick straight off the bat from Reborn. And if we go on to the next pick from Frost, we see the Twin Blast and the Decker. Frost not going for the Revenant, which I find also interesting because they could have potentially taken that away from Reborn.
Yeah.
So that they have chosen to just put Nadir on something else. But I feel like they just want their comfort pick. I think Klingon Twin Blast is a comfort pick for him, and he can still do incredibly well if he gets not punished as hard in the early stages of the game.
I expect Reborn to... Well, there's two different ways if you're Reborn you can approach this. Is Frost going to go for the double carry with Twin Blast and Revenant? If that's the case, we more than likely want to pick up Revenant at this stage of the game. Or are we... I mean, how much do they know about Frost's strategies? How much do they know about the way they draft? If they know that Frost is not a team that runs the Revenant Twin Blast double carry, then they could just pretty much wait to pick up their carry much later on in the draft and maybe put emphasis on another hero or role. But not going to be the case. They are going to pick up that Revenant. And Sol Nazgul, the man who sort of pioneered Howitzer way back in the day when he wasn't really considered that strong of a hero, is going to be the hands of him this time over in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's strong picks come out from Reborn. Not much to say there. They do take away Mamax on the Howitzer, so he's going to have to try to find something else. But Bellica is still open for us, so
yes,
they do have that as an option to take, should they choose. The next picks, as we can see, coming out from Frost already. Actually, the Seraph is coming out from Frost. So they're taking another. Okay. They're taking that pick instead of the Revenant away from Reborn from the previous game. However, without there being a Muriel, I'm not too completely sold on it. Muriel kind of,
I agree,
shores up the composition, can keep two front sort of carries alive for a lot longer. So it's going to be interesting to see what Frost sort of closes off their composition with. I suspect it's going to be a Bellica if they can grab it.
Last two picks coming up from Reborn. More than likely going to be a support. Narbash is on the field. And if they wanted to deny Bellica from Frost, they obviously could run Bellica in a support role as well. I actually would love to see that. I think that would be really, really strong. I think it's pretty much between Narbash and Bellica at this point. It is going to be Narbash. And that's a portrait we haven't seen in a while there, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. This is one hero whom we have not talked about at all. We've been touching on the changes of patch 0.40, version 0.40, because they were so sweeping and grand in nature. But this is one hero who received, I would say, just a maybe not a rework, but a big touch-up. And that's Kalari, a hero we haven't seen at all pretty much ever. And it's going to be in the hands of one of the most widely respected offlaners in the game currently, Reflect. Assuming it's Reflect, I'm pretty sure it's going to be. Jims, is there legitimacy to this Kalari pick? Is Kalari now strong enough to be played in a competitive sense, or is this just Reborn showing a little bit of style?
Kalari is still a little bit hit or miss overall, and by the way, for us to end up not going for the Bellica, going for that gadget.
Okay.
Pair up with the Decker. Bellica can't really pair up as well with Decker, so you can get the Tesla Dome with Decker, which lines up Frost for a pretty nice wombo combo. But again, on the Kalari, a little bit of a buff that she got, but overall still not one of the best offlaners. I feel like there are a couple of different alternatives Reborn could have taken, but against two carries, Kalari might just have a field day, being able to fight potentially with Seraph and with a Twin Blast as well.
Kalari just has a very interesting dynamic. Is so much her role in the game is so much different than that of other offlaners, right? Generally, other offlaners are relegated to two different roles: creating space and split pushing, which is sort of a la your Feng Miao or Greystone, or more of a farm-oriented role and team fight-oriented role, which is like a Seraph or a Steel or a Kwang. And Kalari sort of fits into both almost, where she's able to split push due to the nature of her global, but at the same time, she can go into a team fight at a moment's notice and pick off one of the carries or a straggler into that. And guys, we're going to get right into this game. So much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Game number 2, the first Kalari I can remember in recent history. And that's a master Kalari, boys. I'm just saying, Reflect. If you guys watch Reflect stream and you know anything about him, you know he actually does really like playing this hero despite the shortcomings of this hero. But with a recent buff and some changes, we'll see if Reborn can show that Kalari is not to be messed with and to be respected going into this game number 2. We'll have to see. And at the same time, I feel like Frost might be taken a little off guard here, to be honest, James. They're like, wait, Kalari? Like, wait, what? Like, maybe, what are they doing? Like, what's going on here with this pick?
Right off the bat, you see the sort of... A potential invade could have happened here for Frost, but let's just get on with it and introduce these teams yet again. On the side of my EU boys, Mamax on the Gadget, Mogasagula on that Deca, Itzeray on the Seraph, Sergeant Floppy on the Sevrog, and Klinghoffer on that Twin Blast.
And I have the distinct pleasure of the boys representing North America, Master Splinter on Narbash, Solo Nazgul on Howitzer, J. Leo Grande on Grux, Reflect on, that's right, I can't believe I'm saying this, I'm so happy, the Kalari, and Nadosic on the Revenant. So, we're going to talk about Kalari here, Gems, because I don't know when the next time we're going to be able to. Strengths, weaknesses of the hero. Very big, obvious weakness of the hero is early on, she lacks wave clear. Her wave clear is pretty bad, and it definitely could be exploited here by Frost if they so desire to do so. Now, with that being said, of course, they are on the Dusk side this time. Last game, they were on Dawn. So they're really not under any pressure to push down this Tier 1 tower on any time constraints. If the Tier 1 offlane tower is still alive for Reflect, that's okay. They're still right next to those Raptors.
Yeah, and you can see Kalari, it's one of the main issues. It's not just the wave clear. We're going to have to be really careful on keeping track of ward placements throughout this game. Because of the Shadow Plane, because of how Kalari's stealth works, we're going to have to see how many wards you actually see Frost commit to placing in lanes. Not just in sort of the river buffs, but right in the lane in case Reflect is sitting around waiting, trying to get a pick.
And you can tell he's being just very slippery, being a nuisance. Another sort of strength that Kalari has, I think, one of the best strengths that Kalari has over almost any other hero, maybe with the exception of Feng Miao or Greystone, is ability to snatch that gold buff very, very easily. Not only with the stealth, not only with the ability to jump up from the low ground up to the high ground of that fog wall there, but also the range with the dagger. So her whole kit really enables her to snatch up those gold buffs. It still can be difficult to do, judging the timing and making sure you get the last hit. But I'm sure that's something Reflect is keeping in the back of his mind, because obviously not only you're denying farm at that point, but you're securing farm for yourself. We're going to see how it's going to go down. Yeah, they put a ward right away immediately at the Raptor camp. They're aware of it. They know Reflect is going to be trying to take this. And to see who is able to get it. Twin Blast does get it. The pop, and the grenade secures it. Reflect, he's not able to get it, but still, at that point, just being a nuisance. And I think that's what you want to see out of the early game for the Kalari, is just forcing wards out that you otherwise would never, ever use, and in sort of a roundabout way, restricting the map control of your opponent on a much grander scale.
It's what I was mentioning. You can see wards in the middle of lanes, trying to keep people safe in case Kalari is sitting there, being sneaky, being invisible, trying to get picks. But again, let's look on the other side of the map. We can see it's Array just hiding behind that wall, trying to sneak and leech as much level experience as he can on this Seraph. And again, not going to be able to get too much. He's really struggling on farm in comparison to like Reflect, who's actually going to be okay after he manages to take a couple of these camps that he hadn't taken yet.
One thing to mention here is Seraph is one of the heroes who actually, assuming decent reaction times, which Array certainly has very good reaction times at the level of play that he's at, is you can use the Heaven's Fury, the invulnerability of Seraph, to pretty much completely negate, obliterate, maybe not all of it, depending on its full duration, but at least negate the damage that comes out of it by a significant amount and keep yourself in the lane. That's definitely the biggest strength of Revenant, is that Obliterate coming out here. As you see, immediately he's trying to punish him. Uses the Obliterate array, isn't going to use the Heavens of the Fury to dodge it at all, but that is one of the strengths of Seraph. She kind of fits into that small group of heroes who can effectively deal with Revenant's early game lane bullying of that Obliterate. Other heroes who are really good at that, Kwang, Feng Miao, and a kind of Steel, but not so much.
Steel can do it, but he needs a follow-up.
Yeah.
With someone else on top of it. But, it punishes the lack of mobility coming out from Nado. However, Nado, if he times his ultimate correctly and gets into
mid
another
lane,
round,
looks like that Thunk was not quite enough to pick up Mamax. Soul Nazgul, one auto attack. He's trying to swing around the R2000 rocket. Gets the kill. It might have actually been the splash damage, not the direct damage from the R2000 rocket. Nonetheless, they are able to pick up first blood in the mid lane. That rotation around 5 minutes. Those river buffs, those odd numbers on the clock. Where you see the action start to break down the early stages of the game. So Mamax gives up that early game first blood. Up until that point, game's been pretty quiet, pretty silent. But 6 minutes in, or soon to be 6 minutes in here, Reborn already just still continuing to play as cleanly in game number 2 as they did in the first one.
they've got a kill off the bat. However, I feel like there's a number of opportunities in this game that they might not have had in the previous game for Frost to be able to get more picks because of how small things like Reflex health pool is on Kalari. They don't have the Muriel to keep Nado alive just as much. However, they do have Narbash, who you can't underestimate his healing capabilities as well. But
yes,
the shields from Muriel, if timed correctly, can block a huge amount more, especially in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game.
You see Team Frost, whether intentional or not, pushing down this tier 2 tower 6 minutes in. They do have a ward behind them, protecting them at least from the river there. As far as if anyone comes in from the jungle, that ward doesn't cover that area, but you can tell they're confident sitting this deep into their opponent's territory this early on, especially considering on the map right now that the only person not showing is Leo. So essentially all they are concerned about is a 2v2 at that situation. And with the mobility of Decker and Swim Blast and the peel provided by Decker, they should be able to get away from that. Off lane to fall for Frost here, just at the same time. So around the same timings here. And Nado, Master are just going to fall back. Nado's already in place in about 5 seconds here to pick up the gold buff. Floppy looking for one river buff. Nazgul looking for the other. It's going to be a red buff for Floppy. And that's it. Red buff really doesn't do much for Sevarog, but still maybe increases farm rate a little bit.
Points on the board as well are looking a lot closer than we saw in the previous game. Klingoff is only 1 point behind. That's just because of the amount of creeps Nado's managed to get. I think one of the golds have been taken as well away from Kling, I think. I'm not too 100% certain. So it's a slight difference there. Not too major. It's going to be dependent on the same sort of thing we saw in the previous game. If Nado can actually get that 1v1 off with Kling in this match as well. Because if he does, we might just see a repeat of the previous game.
This game definitely much quieter than it was in previously. These teams are not just... In game 1, we saw from both sides teams rotating, whether it's their jungler... Generally, it's the jungler mid lane support rotating, peeling off to the river bus. This time, lanes are a little bit more static. It's more just coming down to each respective team trying to win their lane in their given matchup here. And talking about that, Gadget definitely struggling against the Howitzer, which I think Howitzer has an advantage inside of that matchup. And the only kill that's been on the board thus far was on Gadget, supplemented by J. Leo Grande rotating over there. Reflect is level 5. His farm, I think, at this point is around what you want to see for an offlaner at 23 CS, 10 card points. You compare that to Array, who's around pretty much matching that almost identically. And
yeah, looking for a pick here as well. Look, he's like posturing around the jungle.
Yep.
Trying to get a pick here if he can, hiding away from Floppy, and I expect he's going to go in the mid lane here.
Gadget's got snared up by the slow mines, the knock-up mine, to knock him back into it. Beautifully timed. Uses the Tesla Dome to try to get some space for him, but Leo Grande is going to once again going to peel him out. And on the other side of the field, we do see Nado Sick picks up the kill on the Twin Blast as well. I feel like Revenant, when it comes to a carry support, a dual lane matchup here, as we see games so frequently break into between that 8 to 10 minute mark after the offlane towers fall, it seems like Revenant just wins that matchup due to the nature of his kit. Floppy's here. He knocks both of them into underneath the tower. The stasis bomb as well. Master Splinter's trying to do what he can. Leo Grande beautifully timed. Gets there just as he needed to use the smash and grab. NATO was dead to rights if Grande did not get that smash and grab. He took 2 towers, 2 pop shots from the tower, a stasis bomb, and a couple knocks in the face from Sevarog's hammer. Is able to get away cleanly, though.
Well, most of the tower damage actually went onto Splinter, not onto NATO, and Splinter took the initial brunt of it, of the tower aggro, which gave NATO a little bit more time to survive, even with the stasis bomb coming out from deck. However, again, this is the same thing we saw in the previous game, where NATO's managed to get a kill on the board. He now has a 3-point lead, has got 2 completed items, looking to try complete his 3rd item, sitting at 17 points, and he can carry on doing the same thing as before, consistently taking these 2v2s and winning the 2v2s. He's going to increase his lead substantially and be able to take the Raptors as well whenever he wants.
Seraph and Kalari matchup over here on the off lane as the safe lanes, as the carry support lanes duo each other out here. One thing about Kalari is her damage is quite significant. Her auto attack damage actually is very, very threatening once she's able to get her 3rd and 4th item. Generally, I expect to see just adamant edges, maybe some supplemental attack speed. Thunder Cleaver, indeterminate if Reflect wants to pick up that Thunder Cleaver or not. He really, that's not really his style. If this was like a B-certified Kalari, B-certified puts Thunder Cleaver in pretty much every hero with the exception of Shinbi. We'd like to see that, but I think it's going to be very telling if he gets a Thunder Cleaver or not, the main role that Reborn has delegated Reflect to have in this game.
Yeah, it's one of those cards you have to actually put a lot of points into it for it to really be anything value. It's like a 4-point card. It makes all the rest of your points and backs really awkward, and it's really might be caught out here.
NATO used the Reckoning on to Klinghoffer. The Quenching Scales came out, and he was okay. Again, there's a lot of intricacies of the ultimate of Reckoning from Revenant. If you are the one who was ulted by Revenant, you can receive healing and shields from your team, while that does not apply to the Revenant, the other way around. NATO Sick has been caught out here. Thunk hits Gadget to provide some Peel Stasis Bomb just a little bit to the side. And NATO says, if you guys think you're going to gank me without getting away cleanly, you're going to think twice about that. So NATO does get taken out, but he picks up Gadget all the meanwhile. Mamax, that's his 2nd death here. Now the rotation coming in from Reborn. Leo Grande's here. Only has about half mana, so enough mana for a smash and grab, but doesn't even need it. As all the meanwhile, Twin Blast was trying to duke out the rest of the team, and Grande just sort of casually shows up, swings the mace, and secures the kill. Both carries go down, but NATO was able to pick up a kill before he went down. So again, the exchange continuing to favor Reborn.
Yeah, even though NATO falls down there, it's still fine for the side of Reborn. It does give Kling a little bit more, because I believe Kling took the kill, so he does get a little bit of that bounty bonus, because NATO had 2 kills without dying yet. It does even up the points a little bit, but he's still 2 points behind.
Yeah,
he's still 2 points behind. Farming is equal. It's just the power of those 2 kills NATO has in general. And also, neither team has actually gone for Raptors. Is this a new trend that we've been seeing where neither team goes for 10 minutes on Raptors? Partially because they're not worth as much anymore since the recent patch. And it's not as a big a risk. It's too much of a risk now when you can just farm up and you can get nearly the same sort of level just from sitting in lane and farming.
Yeah, and at the same time, teams have become so astute at recognizing when Raptors are being taken and also able to punish teams. Because that Raptor area, if your whole team is locked into that semicircle, it's a very, very difficult situation. You can get caught out so easily from any big AoE, whether it's a Make It Rain from a Howitzer, Steel Shield Slam, more relevant to this game, a Containment Fence in a Tesla Dome. Very, very dangerous area to fight without any sort of discernible advantage other than just having a big economical lead, which at that stage, if you have a big economical lead, then you really don't need the Raptors anyway, as you already have built yourself a lead. So we're starting to see this patch definitely transitioning much more to the emphasis on the laning phase and a little bit less from what we saw in the previous patch, which was just a lot of team fighting around those Raptors. Reflect doesn't have much mana, but is going to try to catch out A-Ray. Uses the auto attack. A-Ray sweeps actually back up, and Reflect is able to get the kill. The Max, if he has another sticky bomb and able to get vision on Reflect, he can pick up the kill. You can tell he doesn't have ward, he doesn't have vision, he's just sort of shooting around aimlessly. But Reflect's can be able to get away. One thing Kalari received in the most recent change was that health regen. Anytime that Kalari is in the Shadow Plane, It's a significant amount of regen and gives her a great way to sustain in lane and just out-harass your opponent. Pop out from the Shadow Plane, the extra buff on the auto attack, from the extra damage increase from your auto attack out from the Shadow Plane, as well as the damage from the dagger. And you can really play just a harass and bully game. I'm
really liking what Frost is doing here. They recognize that Reborn put a lot of resources onto the other side of the map, so they took 2 of the Raptors sneakily. However, they might still end up getting punished and losing a couple of kills.
Yep, the Max was just simply 2 wounded. The Raptors did enough damage to where Reborn could pretty much just sweep in there and pick up a kill. They're going to get a single Raptor for themselves, so 2 Raptors over to Frost, but a kill and a Raptor over to Reborn. And I think in the current state of the game, with the kills already going the way of Reborn and the fact that they have the Revenant with that bounty mechanic that he has on board, taking trades like that isn't necessarily the best situation. Oh, wow. Twin Blast just caught out. Nazgul got the knockup mine. The follow-up on point. The big invasion into the strong side of the jungle off the heels of the kill on Gadget. They picked up Sevarog as well, of course. So
just using that numbers advantage. Like, straight off the bat, they got a pick. They do textbook play. We've taken the Raptor. What other resources can we deny on the side of Frost? Let's go into their jungle, hit the link, take all their camps. Oh, look, we got a couple of extra kills here as well. And this just further holds their lead that they've actually managed to build. They're also going to get another tower here, a tier 1 tower on this other side, on the Raptor side of the map. And again, this is incredibly consistent play coming out from Reborn. Take every single objective that they can, take every single resource away from Frost that they can while they're down.
Tier 1 safe lane tower to fall. Reborn just find those advantages, capitalize, and continue to build the momentum. Reflect building out more adamant edges, 20 card points, array at 19, so a little bit of a deficit, but nothing too much here. And Reborn continue to play the same game. This is Reborn's game. This is their comfort zone, Gems. This is where they are the happiest. They're content with the current state of the game. I think right now it's up to Frost to try to dictate the cadence of this game thus far. If you allow Reborn to be in their comfort zone, especially with how well they've been playing throughout this weekend, it's going to be very, very difficult for them.
They really need to try to get their own sort of pick. However, it's incredibly difficult because they don't have any aggressive wards. We can already see on the side of Frost. Most of their wards are already defensive ones on their side of the map.
An engagement coming out here on the safe lane. Master Splinter using the Crash Bang Boom. Quenching Scales trying to keep Mach alive. I was wondering if there's going to be a containment fence. Floppy has now moved over. Reckoning used as a defensive tool. Master Splinter trying to dodge the Ventilate. Funk is used. Twin Blast is pretty low here. NATO might look for a kill. Nope. The Obliterate goes off, but Kling, it was very close right there. He uses Twin Blast's poppity pop pop to kill the kills NATO before he go down. But there you go. That's what Kalari does. Cleans up stragglers, uses the death sentence, and that's exactly what that was. He gets taken out. Now A-Ray's trying to swing that hammer as best he can. Almost looked like he got blinded by phase there for a moment. Rotation from Nazgul. These guys continue to just rotate in a very timely manner. So Nazgul, that's the alley-oop right there. The landmine into the R2000 rocket, the end of Array as well. And Reborn, they lose their carry, but they continue to just take the lead in these team fights.
Well, also the fact that Nader did still actually get a kill during that fight meant that he's still substantially ahead of Klinghoffer. So at 30 points, Klinghoffer only at 25. It seems to be a reoccurring pattern we're seeing here, where Nader's, even though they're killing him, they haven't actually really shut him down in terms of the amount of points he's been able to accumulate. Yeah. He's still doing incredibly well. And also, I want to have a look at Nazgul's build. He's got Ash of the Witch on Howitzer. Make It Rain just going to apply a slow. The R2000 rocket's going to apply a slow. Mine also applies slow. And then he's got the Stasis Gem on top of that to keep himself alive if he does get caught out and give himself a couple of extra crucial seconds.
Solo Nazgul was really the only player that comes to mind who actually used Stasis Gem before it was, essentially, its value was increased. Generally, we saw it on his Bellica, considering that was really the only mid laner who had access to it, as before it was a order card. But yeah, when I first saw the Stasis Gem change, I'm like, oh, so that's going to go in literally every Nazgul deck. So that's exactly what we see here, and we're starting to see it becoming a very common trend. Over here in the mid lane, Twin Blast has caught out Nazgul. That's a good kill. They need that. No Howitzer for 60 seconds. Now, there's Raptors aren't in the field to take, but at least maybe they can stabilize a little bit and try to get some map control or look for other objectives across the field.
It gives them a little breathing room more than anything. Gives them a couple of extra sort of a minute or so to just try and get as much farm as possible wherever they can. And JDO got the buffs. He's got a multitude of buffs right there, and just trying to get something going in the jungle, because it's going to be really difficult for anyone to really fight him with a black and a purple buff. But again, Frost have wards in their own jungle and are playing relatively safe.
Reflect has picked up the Thunder Cleaver. So Kallari, we mentioned how Kallari's wave clear is pretty lacking up until that point. And so that means Reflect is just going to be constantly pushing in these waves. The wave clear from Seraph is respectable, but with no Thunder Cleaver, she's always going to find Ray's always going to find himself having to rotate constantly to deal with the waves pushed in. Death sentence from Reflect onto mid lane. Mamax continues to get taken out. That's his 5th death this game. Compare that to only 1 death on Decker. The rest of his team, it's Mamax in the mid lane, who's been struggling the most and where Reborn has put the most focus.
Yeah, neither team also have vision of Prime, so that's another thing we need to keep track of. Also, if Frost don't have wards inside the Prime pit, if they try to go for it, and they only have it around the surrounding area, there is the possibility of Reflect being able to sneak in over the walls, or running in and try get a steal. Should Frost try go for sort of more of a desperation Prime? We saw in the previous game they're really hesitant to make sort of big risk plays, but I think they might just have to do it. It's looking like it's going to have that sort of scenario yet again, because we already see another set of Raptors here actually going on the side of Reborn right now.
I feel like there's nothing that Frost can do right now. With Mamax just now spawning on the field, all the waves pushed in, the space creation that they have available, not only on Kallari, but just they've been setting the waves, they've been pushing the waves in and manipulating the map to their favor very, very well thus far. Frost is not as large of a deficit as they were before. I mean, it's still a 5-point lead, but considering the nature of Revenant and the way that he gets a significant amount of more card experience out of kills, when you expect to see Revenant be ahead of the other carry. Not to say Revenant's, I mean, when it comes to late game strength, Revenant's auto attacks still do a significant amount of damage. They're still chunking people down. Even though, yes, he only gets 4 shots off and has to reload, he still does enough damage to where if you land all 4 of those shots, someone's more than likely going to be low enough to get taken out. So,
well, 4 shots plus obliterate is most mid laners and carries HP, effective HP bars straight away. You can take out most mid laners and even supports with that if you hit the full combo and if obliterate actually all the shots hit onto the one person.
Yep. Floppy just fell out of the sky. That was pretty funny. I had my camera on the max and all of a sudden Floppy just dropped right in front of it. 3-man posturing here in the mid lane. There is no tier 1 tower. All tier 2 towers are still alive for Team Frost, so they still have their jump pads. They still have that map control. But it's Leo Grande who's caught out Decker. We haven't seen it. I feel like a single containment fence this game here, Jims. It finally goes down, but the Tesla Dome's there. Honor the Pure and Quenching Scales completely negating the Wombo combo as they were able to take out Decker. Immediately swing over. NATO, just what he's been doing this entire time is isolating Klinghoffer on the Twin Blast, uses the Reckoning, and picks up a kill. A-Ray's returned to kill over to J. Leo Grande, but he immediately gets turned on. He gets taken out as well. And Mamax, who's been the one dying the most, is the only survivor of that most recent exchange. Leo Grande went down, but he did his job. Okay. Are they going to go for this? Reflect's got the stealth. He misses the dagger, but he's going to pick up the kill. And you hear it. All enemies down. They get the full handful of them. Mid lane already pushing down. I feel like they're just going to go for an inhibitor here.
Yeah, it's most likely going to be a free inhib to the side of Reborn. They're going to keep it clean as they did before, take the inhib, back out, then potentially posture around the Prime for the next fight. While you see the super minions, going to be incredibly difficult to deal with, constantly pushing down and hammering down this mid lane for the side of Frost. It allows Reborn now to solidify the lead even more. We keep saying this time and time again, but 10-point lead on NATO, again, same thing as the game before. Reflex actually ahead as well on board on Kallari 505, doing incredibly well on sort of an off-meta pick that we've been seeing. And also, J. Leo is also far ahead of Floppy, sitting at 33, and it makes it incredibly rough for Frost to really be able to do anything. Even if it looks like a favorable engage at the start for Frost, they just don't have enough damage. They don't have the points to actually effectively take out anyone right now.
Array seems to be struggling in this fight. It's 0-3-1. He's done a good job at dealing with Reflect split push. Done a very good job at that. And also at the same time, with Reflect pushing in those lanes constantly, Array has access to a little bit safer farm underneath his own tier 2 tower. I have to say that it's completely safe, especially with the way that Leo Grande has been seems to just be everywhere all at once. But his farm isn't considerably bad considering the circumstances. He's at 29 card points as an offlaner who struggled early on. Of course, Reflect at 37. 5-0-5 Kallari. Gems, I'm going to say something bold that I didn't think I was going to say, at least in this patch. Reflect is making Kallari look good.
It's going to make solo queue a lot of fun in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, man. Let the rogue cloaked Kallaris just come in plentiful. Or Prime now being taken by Reborn. I think this is quite a bold call here from Reborn, but I think they're going to be able to pull it off as Mamax again continues to be the target that is just getting toyed around with by Reborn. Decker gets taken out by the Obliterate as well. Just barely enough damage. No Decker, no Gadget. There's no Wombo combo potential. No Wombo combo potential means I don't think that Frost can even entertain the idea of trying to steal this. They didn't even need to reflect in that fight. He's still continuing to push with that Thunder Cleaver, pushing down this wave. Array is always persistently not able to show up to these fights when they first happen. That's what you want to see. You want your Seraph to be in the fight when it's hectic, when teams are disoriented as to what is happening before they figure out who they need to focus. But he shows up after the fact, after Floppy is low, has already used Subjugate, has already used Colossal Blow, and he's just easy pickings at that point. Decker and Gadget are going to be alive for this push in mid lane. They're going straight for the throat here, potentially. No, they're transitioning over to the left lane. Array needs to be very careful here. He is caught in a very, very awkward spot right now. Dodges the R2000 rocket. Leo Grande